Hi everyone, my name is Matt Walsh, and today we're going to talk through the 5 key things you need to know in order to get started with your Visible Body Courseware account. So the first thing you should know, the first key item, is simply that we have a bunch of pre-made courses aligned to the most popular textbooks. So we give you a nice foundation to start with, and then you can build on top of that and tweak that pre-made course that we give you. So in order to find those pre-made courses, those are right here in the top right corner. You can click on pre-made courses and you can scroll down and simply find your pre-made course and you can add it to your account. So in our case, we are going to use a pre-made course that I've already put into my course list here. This one here, Lab Manual Correlation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump right into that. But first, I'll just mention and make sure you know, you can, of course, come in here and you can change the name of this so that it's not this big clunky name here. You can edit that to your liking to match your course itself. So let's go into this course and we'll talk a little bit about this. So this brings up number 2. The next key thing you should know is basically getting your course off the ground. So what I mean by getting your course off the ground is there's 3 quick areas that you need to know in order to get your course off the ground. The first one is simply inviting people. So when you're ready, over here on the left-hand panel, if you click on Invite People, this is where you can invite students to your course. So all you have to do is click on the link here, copy the link, and you can plop it right into your LMS, or you can email it to the students, and that'll prompt them to sign up and get in your course. And then they'll be placed right here in the class roster. So you don't have to manually put people into the class roster. The next key thing for getting off the ground is publishing and editing your dates. So what I mean by that is simply that when you're in your course here, you can see it all set up. The students on their end, they will not be able to see any of this until you go in and publish it. So I'll show you what I mean by that. Up here on the top, it says Student Preview. If I were to click on this, you'll see if I was a student, I wouldn't be able to see anything quite yet. And that's just because we haven't gone in and published anything. The way you can do that, well, technically speaking, you could go into an individual assignment, and I'll go through these types of assignments. You can go into an individual assignment and you can publish it there, or you can edit and change the due date. But what I would suggest is that you come in and you use this bulk editing tool. That'll help you get off the ground a lot quicker. That'll save you some time. So just to show you an example, I'm going to click on this and it's going to open up these checkboxes here. So as an example, say the organ system overview, I wanted to publish this. So I'm just going to put a check next to it. First, I can go ahead and change my due dates or my release date if I wanted to. And just to show you a folder with multiple assignments in there, you can pick and choose exactly which assignments you want to use. So if there's something in there that you don't need to use, something we've put in the pre-made course that you don't want to use, you don't have to delete that. You can just simply never publish it. So in this case, as I said, I'm just going to publish this organ system overview assignment. So you could go in, you could change your due date, your release date in bulk. I'm just going to publish this just to show you what it looks like. So now you'll see the difference here. There's a green check mark instead of the not published icon. And if I were to go into student preview here, you'll be able to see, or I should say the student will be able to see what they can then start working on. And over here, of course, will be the dates. So the release date and then the due date will be in there. So I'm going to turn that back off here. That's how you can publish specific assignments, set your due dates, and get ready to roll. The one last thing as part of this number 2 key getting off the ground area is the anatomy ID assignments. So I'll get into this next, but just to get you set up for that, those are the only types of assignments on your end. And here's an example of one here, anatomy ID. Those are the only types of assignments that as an instructor, we require a little bit of action on your end to get started, to set up those assignments. And I'll show you exactly what that means. Basically, you're handing the student a body and you just have to tell them what to do with it. And I will get to that in just a second. So that's number 2. Number 3, the next key area for getting started with your Visible Body Courseware account are knowing the different types of assignments. And I'm going to use, just as an example, we'll use this folder here, the Anatomy of the Heart folder. And as you've seen, all these different assignment types you can drag and drop within the folders here, so you can move these around as much as you want. And then on a higher level, you could of course do this with the folders themselves. So we of course align this with the textbook, but if you want to mix things up and go in a different order than the textbook does, you can certainly drag and drop things around as much as you want to. So I'm going to use my Anatomy of the Heart folder just as our example and go through a couple of the assignment types and show you what that's all about. So the first type of assignment here, the module assignments, why we normally include these first is because this is more foundational, scene setting material that walks the students through. Sometimes you could even consider it review material depending on your course. So let me click on this type of assignment here. As you'll see, and this goes for most of the assignment types, they will link out to an asset within one of our 5 apps. So you can always see that right here where it says source at the top of the page. In this case, the module assignments are going to link out to our anatomy and physiology app. So let me link out to one of these just to show you what it may look like. So this is what I mean when I say foundational reading material. It'll hold the student's hand and walk them through so they can read, they can watch short video clips, and then they can interact with these 3D models. And if they click on the red text over here, it'll help walk them through. They can, of course, jump in and hide structures and fade structures and hide others. So they can really play around with exactly how to do that. So I'm fading. You can also read about a certain structure, and you can even get the pronunciation about a certain structure too. So this interactive 3D model, this is actually a bit of a stripped down version of our Human Anatomy Atlas app. And I'll show you that in the next type of assignment. And that they'll be able to interact even more and more in depth. So that's what the module assignments are all about. These types of assignments, as I said, more foundational, getting started, and that's why we usually put modules first. Now, if you would prefer to call it something else, you of course could rename the assignment itself. All you would have to do is come here and click on Edit, and you could rename it to Pre-Lab Reading or anything you want. You can change the dates here if you want to, but again, we would suggest it would probably be easier and save you some time to do it all at once at the end using that bulk editing feature. Now, by default, as you can see, we'll give you more rather than giving you less. And what I mean by that is we'll give you, for example, this entire chapter 29 on the heart. But we give you the ability to come in if you want to, and if you hit edit, and then right here, if you hit edit assignment content, this is where you can customize the content within that assignment. So in other words, I've clicked on the text itself in order to populate what's in the chapter over here. And depending on what you're covering, you can jump in here and you can deselect some areas if you want to, and really dig in and customize exactly what you want to apply for the students. And then just click continue, and that'll save those updates for you. So that's how you can update an existing assignment type. Now the next assignment type that I want to show you are the anatomy ID assignments. And those are a little different. I had referenced this in our previous section. Now, these assignments require a little bit of action on your end as the instructor, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So these assignments will link to a specific view of the body. So like I said, it's almost as if you're handing the student a body, you just have to tell them what to get out of it, what to do with it. So in this case, it's the circulatory system. So what you could do is, here in the description, this is what a lot of instructors will do. In the description, you can hit edit, and within the description, you can add a whole list of structures. So in this case, you could have bones or veins or arteries, depending on whatever the folder is and whatever section that you're working on. You could have a whole list of, say, muscles, and origin and insertion points, or organs. That's where you would put that. So then when the student comes in and sees the assignment, they'll see the list, and they'll have this in another tab opened up, and they'll start searching through and looking for what they need to find. So in this case, I'll show you just a couple areas within here, just a couple key tips within the Atlas app. We're not going to go through it too in depth, but just a couple keys that some people like to utilize. You can, of course, use dissect, and you can dissect away certain areas. And hide works in just the same way. Whoops. What you can also do is you can use the undo feature there, the history feature at the bottom. Now, a couple key areas, a couple key points. If you click on any bone, so I've clicked on the first rib, just for example. In this app, you can read about the structure, you can see associated pathologies, pronunciation, and then if you click on this multicolored pelvis here, you can see the bony landmarks as well. So that can be really helpful. And you can even see the muscle attachments, and you can attach the muscles right on there. Now, alternatively, if you were to select a muscle, and there's no muscles on this particular model here, but I'm going to put some muscles on it with this systems view over here. So that's another cool feature. If you click on the systems tray, you can add that right in there. So in this case, I'm going to click on muscular, and you can add and remove different body systems from the body right there. So in this case, similar to the bone, this time you're just looking at the muscle. There'll be a pin here, and if you click on the pin, you'll be able to zoom in and see the origin and the insertion points. So that's really helpful. And if you give a student a structure and they can't seem to find it, they can always come here and they can look it up in the anatomy search. So those are the, oops, let me go back to where I was here. Those are the anatomy ID assignments. We also have a few other types of assignments, but just quickly, one helpful type of assignment here, the lab activities. These are worksheets that students can work through on their end. And we won't go through this too in depth, but just to show you, the students can type right into these on their end. So that's really helpful. Now, there's no way to edit these PDFs and pick it apart and make a smaller one. So what a lot of instructors do is they simply click edit, and then you could say, please only work through pages 1 through 5, for example. So those worksheets, those lab activities are really good supplementary assignments to go along with labs and lectures and things like that. And those are the main assignment types. We, of course, have augmented reality lab activities as well. And those are this one is very similar. It is just a PDF, and the student can actually point their phone with the app open right at the PDF, and it'll populate the structure right in the middle of their living room, for example. And those directions are right in there. So those are the key assignment types. Now, the next thing quickly that we'll go over, now we're on to number 4, is the quizzes. So we have both practice quizzes and we have graded quizzes. Now the practice quizzes, I'll just use the same folder here as our example. The practice quizzes, just so you know on your end, these are not editable on your end. You can't change the content within the quizzes, and you can't actually see the grades of the students. So these are just for practice, just as they sound. You are able to go in, just like I showed you in the modules, and you could hit Edit Assignment Content, and you can choose which quizzes are applied, but you can't change the content within the quizzes or see the grades, because these are built right into the apps themselves. As you can see, this is built right into the Anatomy and Physiology app. So those are practice quizzes. Now, the good news is the graded quizzes are fully customizable on your end. And here are some graded quizzes. In these pre-made course correlations, such as this one, we usually include both a dissection and a multiple choice quiz in some of the folders. Not in all courses, but in this particular course and many of the other courses, we'll include some quizzes in there for you. And they're easy to grab yourself as well. So just like any other assignment type, you could hit edit and then hit edit assignment content, and you could fiddle around with which quizzes are assigned to that particular folder, to that particular assignment. The quick example that I'll show you for quizzing is that you can take our quizzes right off the shelf if you want to and use them as is. But another common workflow is that some people like our quizzes, but they may want to make a small tweak to a quiz. And I'll show you that right now. So there's a couple ways to get into the graded quiz bank. If you knew you were ready to go and you're ready to make an assignment, you could click right up here where it says Create New Assignment. And this is where you can create any type of assignment, by the way. This page here is just asking you which of our apps or which of our platforms do you want to pull content out of. So here's our 5 apps. And then you can see here, I want to pull information out of, or pull content out of the graded quiz bank. So that's where you could do that. Alternatively, you could even make an assignment out of something like a YouTube video or a worksheet that you already have. So you could do that, or you could also jump right down here in the bottom left corner and jump right into the quiz bank. So very quickly, just to show you what I mean, you can, of course, filter down to exactly what you want to find. If you click on Visible Body as the author, those are our professionally made, professionally vetted quizzes. And we have the 3 types of quizzes: multiple choice, short answer, dissection. And I'm going to filter down to circulatory and hard, just to show you. So just as our example here, if you click on it, you can preview the quiz over on the right-hand side. Say you like this quiz, it's great, it's a good place to start, but you might actually want to edit that. What you can do is, all you have to do is click clone and then rename it. So you're just making a copy of it for yourself. That's what's happening here. Now next, now you'll see that it gives you the ability to edit this, because now you've made a copy for yourself. And here's where you can do that. So now we're in edit. This really helps. By default, it's randomized, the quizzes are. You can have randomized, and you can also pool questions, and that certainly helps with any sort of cheating if you're worried about that sort of thing. And here's where you can delete certain questions, and then of course you can also add questions in right there too. So that's how you can take our quizzes and tweak them a bit. Now I'm going to click on Save Quiz, and it gives you a couple options. What you can do is you could create a new assignment for your quiz, and we won't do that right now. Or you could create another quiz, or you could click Done. I'm just going to click Done here, and I'm going to go back into my course and back into that assignment, or excuse me, into that folder, because we already have an existing graded quiz assignment here. So just like the other assignment types, you could come in, click Edit, and here's where you can change the assignment data. So you can add a time limit, you can have number of attempts, all sorts of things like that. If you click Edit Assignment Content, here's where you can play with which quizzes you want to apply. So here's our quiz, the 3rd one on the list here. And now I'm going to replace this old one with mine here that I've made edits to. So there's different ways you can attack the quizzing. You can make a brand new assignment, or you can go ahead and you can utilize the existing quizzing assignments too. Great, so that's quizzing. That's a quick overview on quizzing. And the last thing, number 5, the last thing I want to show you is instructor resources. So you'll see that over here on the left-hand side. This will link out to a really handy page that has links out to specific areas. So for example, this will bring you out to some really good resources, short videos and textual walkthroughs that'll walk you through a lot of the stuff that we've talked about today. Actually, everything we've talked about today, we have documented. It'll help you, if you forget anything, it'll help you walk through exactly what you need to know. On a similar note, back in the assignments, just so you know, we always include Getting Started with Visible Body as our first folder. And this is great for the students, and it's also great on your end as well if you wanted to look at this, but especially for the students. So similar to that page that I showed you, whoops, this is going to link out here to a walkthrough, a numbered walkthrough of exactly how you can get started. And there's also a really good PDF as well. So that's certainly very helpful all the way around for students and for instructors. Now, the last thing I'll show you is also this question mark up in the corner here. If you have any sort of technical issue, our support team is excellent. You can click right here to go to the Help Center, and you can support, and you can send in a support ticket that way. We are, of course, always willing to help via email as well, but any sort of techie type issue, you can submit a support ticket in there. So there's tons of resources for you to help you get up and running, from instructor resources to the help center here that walks you through all sorts of situations. And of course, the getting started folder as well. So we're always happy to help out. That's our quick walkthrough. Those are the 5 key things that you should know. So as a summary, we have the pre-made courses. There, you have to get off the ground, and getting off the ground is inviting people, setting your due dates, and publishing assignments, and then those anatomy ID assignments. Number 3 is the types of assignments, knowing what the types of assignments are and how you can utilize those. Number 4 is the quizzing, so the practice quizzes and also the graded quizzes. And then number 5 is instructor resources. So just knowing that there's tons of resources built into the system for you, built right into the courses as well, where you can go and get some help there. So I hope you found this really helpful. And if you do have any questions, always feel free to reach out to us. But I hope this helps you at least get started with your Visible Body Courseware account. Thanks, everyone. Bye.